Manchester United 4, Bournemouth 4. The devil is in the detail. So what happened behind the scenes in this tactical matchup between Amorim and Iraola? Without further ado, let's analyze. Alright, so let's get started with this tactical analysis video. And this video is going to be a little bit different from the videos you're used to here on Scarlet Report, because I'm not going to focus on tactical systems or formations, but rather I'm going to focus on the one tactical concept that I believe has affected the course of this game the most. In fact, most of the 8 goals that both teams have scored came from this particular concept, which is off-the-ball movement, especially creating spaces, opening up spaces that can be exploited through the movement of the ball of the players. And so here we can see this in the lead up to Amad Diallo's first goal. As Amad Diallo is collecting the ball right here, Mbeumo is not asking for the ball, rather he's moving into space, dragging some Bournemouth players with him, therefore opening up the space right here for Amad to have a lot of space and time on the ball. And as the ball moves towards the left-hand side, Mason Mount does exactly the same thing to afford Diogo Dalot some space and time on the ball, and also putting him in a 1v1 situation, which is much more manageable. But also another thing that I liked about this is just the amount of Manchester United players in the box, because this is something we haven't seen consistently enough in this iteration of Manchester United since Sir Alex Ferguson retired, really. But this was actually quite, I was pleased with it, because that means we have options in the box, and there's a high chance that we are gonna that it's gonna result in one Manchester United player having a shot on goal. And that's exactly what happened. Diogo Dalot, that was a great goal. And then again, because of our off-the-ball movement, players like Amad Diallo and Diogo Dalot were able to have space and time on the ball. With space and time comes better quality, and therefore we're able to score the goal, okay? But already, you know, by the 28th minute, and even earlier than that, I started realizing that Manchester United had an issue, and that also had a lot to do with, first of all, the inexperience of players like Leny Yoro and Aiden Heaven. By the way, I don't have an agenda against those players here. I'm just analyzing what I'm seeing. But also because Bournemouth were actually quite effective and intentional with their off-the-ball movement. For example, look at this sequence right here. The danger, most people would focus on what's happening here with Semenyo and Evan Nilsson right there. But actually, the danger is Tavernier right there, right here, because as you can see here, our 3 centre-backs are occupied by 2 Bournemouth players. And I could already see that Leny Yoro was not really in the position where he's supposed to be. Because here, there's this space right here between Amad Diallo and Leny Yoro. And then when you have some runners from deep, like Tavernier right here, that can be extremely hard to defend against. And with the quality of the balls that Bournemouth were delivering to the box, it was just a matter of time before they score. Here, of course, Lamens made a key save for us. But that was a clear-cut chance that Bournemouth should have scored. But now we're going to see that concept again in play and how it has helped Bournemouth score 3 of their 4 goals. In fact, they could have won the game in the 96th minute with another chance that was also created with the same concept. So here, 3 Bournemouth players applying pressure. Luke Shaw, uncharacteristically so. He was really excellent for us this season. Again, in this game, he was very good. But here, he made the mistake. He lost the ball in a key area without much cover behind him. So now Semenyo is set on his ways. But as you can see here, this space right here, Aiden Heaven, you could think of him as you know, being in a good position where he can go and engage Semenyo and win the ball. But what's going to happen is that here with Evan Nilsson's run, he's forcing Heaven to come narrower and you know, deeper into his own box, therefore affording even more space and time to a player like Semenyo. With this kind of quality, of course, the finish is going to be there. It's going to be amazing. Absolutely no chance for Lamens right there, and that's a goal for Bournemouth. Again, the main focus right here is on the mistake of Luke Shaw, but to me, the main focus is on Evan Nilsson's move to create more space for Semenyo. And here again, in the lead up to Bournemouth's second goal, again, the same thing is going to play. They win an aerial duel right there from Senesi against Cunha, and then here as Tavernier lifts his head and is assessing his options, what's going to happen is this. For some reason, Leny Yoro, I'm sorry about my watermark right there, but you know, gotta make sure that nobody steals my content, yeah? So Leny Yoro, for some reason, he's much more concerned about this wide area right here, but that's not where the danger is, because as he's moving wider, he's actually creating an opportunity for Bournemouth, which is Evan Nilsson right here, and Tavernier knows that. So now, as the gap between Leny Yoro and Heaven is getting wider, Tavernier is gonna spot that, and it's this area right here, which is the danger area. So then here again, that's the lack of judgment and lack of experience of Leny Yoro, We've seen it plenty of times in this game, but also if you remember that penalty conceded against Mateta against Crystal Palace, that was also because he has afforded a lot of space, for Mateta before conceding that penalty from similar situations. So again, this is clearly something that Lenioro should improve on, and that was again another well-placed finish. Again, the quality on the ball that the Bournemouth players have shown in this game has been, absolutely outstanding. And then here again, the third goal that Bournemouth scored, in fact, their fourth goal in this game, the equalizing goal, also came from the same type of sequence. Here, Kluivert is making a dummy run. As you can see here, Krupi, the goal scorer, is taken by Heaven. So far, no danger. But because of this Kluivert run, look what's happening to Heaven. He's moving closer towards Kluivert because that's a danger right there. One through ball beyond Dalot, and Manchester United would be in a very difficult situation. So because Heaven has to follow, there's again a wider gap between him and Lisandro Martinez. By the way, at this stage of the game, we're playing a back four with Luke Shaw and Diogo Dalot as the fullbacks. So then Krupi again, control, and another beautiful finish. So all of this came from that same concept, which is exploiting the channels, just creating that defensive disorganization, that horizontal disorganization to create spaces between the center backs or between the center backs and the wing backs and exploiting them. And again, that was beautiful from a tactical perspective from Bournemouth. But of course, I talked about Lenioro, but here I'm going to praise Lenioro because in the lead up to the Casemiro goal, Diakite right here, who used to be Lenioro's teammate at Lille, is in charge of marking Casemiro. But while I talked about how naive players like Heaven and Yoro, well, actually more so Lenioro in this game, in this particular sequence, he showed some, Mourinho tendencies, those dark arts. Because what he's going to do here is going to make a move that's going to afford Casemiro more time and space in order to be able to score the goal. Because he'll look at Lenioro. He knows that Diabate is going to be following Casemiro right there. So he's blocking him with his butt, literally. And therefore, he cannot follow him. And so Casemiro has a free run at goal and is able to score. So we need to see a little bit more of this from the Manchester United player. Enough of that naivete, okay? You got to be street smart to play for a club like Manchester United. I'm actually pleased to see Lenioro show that after he has kind of like let us down a few times in this game. But here, let's talk about those two free kicks, because again, this game was not only special because both teams have scored 4 goals each, but also because both teams have scored 1 free kick each in the same manner. Those free kicks were kind of similar. So here, let's talk about the lead up to Bournemouth's free kick. So here, Diogo Dalot, in my opinion, was kind of responsible in the first phase, because again, with these kind of goals that you concede, a lot of it is not just a matter of one player making a mistake. A lot of times there's a few things not going your way, therefore, snowballing and leading up to you conceding the goal. So here, Diogo Dalot's pass is overhit and it's not the right quality of the pass. I would also make the argument that Bruno Fernandez right here was not the right choice. He is surrounded by 2 Bournemouth players, one wrong first touch, and then that's it. Bournemouth are on their way to counterattack us from a situation where we should actually be in control. But here, what I really find extremely disappointing about this situation is that Diogo Dalot was already on a yellow because of his skirmish with Semenyo earlier in the first half. So he was in a situation right here to commit a tactical foul, and that would have stopped the Bournemouth counter. But he couldn't, because that would mean a red card for him, and he could not do that, which in my opinion is the right choice. But this is another example of just how some unforeseen circumstances kind of lead to you conceding goals and then dropping points. The devil is in the detail. So now Casemiro is the one who has to take one for the team, but it's quite close and in a very dangerous position for Bournemouth. And again, that could have been avoided, but it wasn't meant to be. But now, still, we haven't conceded the goal. So there are a couple more things here to say, which is Bruno Fernandez looking at Lamens right here, and he's literally telling him where he believes Tavernier is going to shoot. And this is a very important detail because it's going to come back later when Bruno Fernandez eventually scored his free kick. So here again, Lamens, the wall is quite solid right here. We do have a player on the floor. It kind of seems obvious that Tavernier is going to go for that. But then again, yeah, Lamens was not ready for it. But anyway, Manchester United's turn. Okay, our opportunity to equalize. And of course, Bruno Fernandes does it in beautiful fashion. Okay, what I love about Bruno Fernandes is that he lives the game. He lives the match. He seems to be in perfect, symbiotic relationship with a football match. Because here, look what's happening. Here, Evan Nilsson again is gonna look at him and he's literally pointing at the top corner. He's like, come on, Bruno, you're a technical player. I challenge you, I dare you to put it in that top corner. And then Bruno Fernandez looks at him, he's like, challenge accepted. Hold my beer. And then that's it. A beautiful, beautiful direct free kick into the top corner, absolutely unstoppable. What a beautiful moment. I mean, this game was extremely enjoyable, even though we did drop 2 points. But here I gotta say something, like I rarely ever talk about the referee's decisions when I talk about the game. You know, I'd rather focus on the game itself. But I found this really interesting. If you remember, during Erik ten Hag's tenure, Casemiro's first season at Manchester United, we were playing away at Crystal Palace and we lost that game because we were reduced to 10 men because Casemiro got a red card because he grabbed a player, I forgot who it was, maybe Hughes, I think. Yeah, I think it was Hughes. By the neck. Again, Semenyo does the same thing. And talking about the dark arts, if this was like a typical Mourinho team, you know, one of his Chelsea teams, or even his Real Madrid team with Pepe and Sergio Ramos, or better yet, his Inter Milan team, Dalot would have fallen on the ground and rolled on the ground and acted like he's been shot by a sniper. But Dalot here, he's been honest. Again, commendable from, you know, personality-wise, character-wise. But again, like, you gotta be street smart. In these kind of situations, I think the best thing should have been to go on the floor. But also I am questioning the consistency of the refereeing in the Premier League. If Casemiro got a red card, why shouldn't Semenyo get a red card? So there are still a couple of things I'd like to talk to you about. The first one is, I'm sure that as you were watching the game, you may have noticed that Manchester United were frequently using a back four. In fact, towards the end of the game, we were exclusively playing back four of Diogo Dalot, Heaven, Lisandro Martinez, and Luke Shaw. And I think that this has a lot to do with the fact that we're going to be losing Bemu, Ahmad, and Mazraoui, three of our best performers this season, who are going to be involved, participating in the African Cup of Nations. And I think that Ruben Amorim is getting ready to find tactical solutions to adapt to this problem that is beyond his control. And like I've said many times in my videos, that's exactly what I'm looking for from a manager. But also, I really hope that whatever tactical innovations he introduces over the next few games, I really hope that they work out, because that would mean that we probably are going to get a much more experimental Ruben Amorim, at least tactically speaking, in the second half of the season. And I really hope that that's just going to bring, you know, a new layer of excitement to the Manchester United fan base. And I'm also sure that as you watch the game, you also notice that certain Manchester United players have performed really, really well and were quite impressive. So again, in this video, I did not really want to focus on individual performances, with the exception of those that I feel have contributed to us conceding goals. Again, if I need to add a precision to that, I don't have an agenda against Lenny Oro, for example. I'm not saying he's not a good player. I'm just saying that that's definitely something that he needs to watch out for and improve on. But we had other players who were absolutely outstanding, and those performances also deserve their own individual videos. So yeah, if you don't want to miss out on those, please make sure that you hit that subscribe button. If you've enjoyed this tactical analysis video, please leave your thoughts in the comment section below and give the video a thumbs up. Until next time, cheers.